less than 24 hours because we're talking about a double header, Super Sunday, 2 big games coming up. And the first of them in the afternoon is going to be the Royal Challengers Bangalore taking on Chennai, the top table clash. It's going to be at the very same ground. The big question really will be, is it going to be the kind of wicket we saw Virat Kohli get back in form? Is it going to be the kind of wicket which saw Devdutt Padikkal pick up that fantastic 100? Or are we going to have the kind of wicket that saw Kolkata struggle on today? That's going to be the big question, Simon. In terms of the surface, is it something that changes between tonight and tomorrow afternoon?
Well, what we have found, I think, is that for the most part, the earlier games produced a few more runs. And we've just found certain pitches that have actually played better than other ones. What I think has happened is, as we've got into the 2 weeks in the tournament, there hasn't been as much moisture put into the block by the groundsman in between games. So they've dried out a little bit. They've got a little bit slower. They've turned a touch at times as well. So the dew later in the evening, and this hasn't been a huge amount, has just probably made that bit of a difference in the chasing scenario. Look, as Owen Morgan said, they're not 130, 140 pitches. They're still 160, 170 on a bad one. They're 215, 220 when you get a good one. So this game is going to come down to the fact that Chennai have played their games at Mumbai, and they've been successful on low-scoring ones. They've been successful on high-scoring ones. So I think, it's just going to come down to who plays the best cricket tomorrow. It's a mouth-watering contest. It's one that I look forward to. The losing team will not be out of it tomorrow. The winning team will be going a long way to making the playoffs.
And what we saw from that, Joy, I think the first thing that strikes you, unlike some of the other teams in the tournament, is that Chennai have won chasing, they have won defending. So they'll want all that under their belt when they come up against a powerful, unbeaten team like Bangalore.
Yeah, I was just looking back to the time when the last time we had both a dominant Chennai and dominant Bangalore. And I actually, go back to 2011 when they met in the finals. Because, that's the thing that they haven't been, when Chennai has been up there, Bangalore sometimes hasn't quite been up to scratch. And then Chennai hadn't been around for a couple of years. And then when Bangalore had a little bit of a recovery last year, Chennai was nowhere. So these two teams are both in many ways very proud franchises, great support bases. And this is the year that both look to be potential champions. If you look at that sort of mix of potential champions, there's Mumbai, no matter how many they lose, they're still there in the mix. There's Delhi, there's Chennai, and there's Bangalore. These are the 4 teams that guys are looking at and saying these are there. And if you look in terms of form, Chennai and Bangalore are the 2 informed teams. So it's a mouth-watering clash in many ways. And Virat versus Dhoni, what's more to ask for?
Yeah, we haven't even come to that yet. But if you've mentioned personnel, what we generally try and do in a preview is to speculate perhaps on any changes. And if we have a look at the squad that's available, and let's bring up Chennai first, since we've already mentioned them. We've seen their performances so far. And they have had the opportunity to play around with some of their foreign players. The one thing that will really stand them in good stead is that Ruturaj Gaikwad, in whom they kept faith, has now shown what he's capable of, Simon. So do you see them needing to make any changes?
I don't see them needing to make changes. It just depends on what they do with Dwayne Bravo. They are quite open about the fact that last couple of seasons when Bravo's been around and fit, he's just tapered off a bit towards the back end. He's had a little injuries. He's had niggles. He's getting older now. So they're just managing him. And if they can still win managing Bravo, then they're in for a good time of it. Now, whether they bring him back, whether they look to play the Behrendorff, or whether they look to stick with Ngidi, I don't have a problem with that. But that's about the only change I see. Those guys. The rest of it looks very, very solid to me. And you know what it's like. I mean, I joked with MS at the toss in the third game. I said, Chennai don't make changes, do they? He said, no, same team. Just like, that's kind of how you roll. It's how you roll. You're surprised when they make, you're blown away if they make 2, and you're surprised a little bit if they make 1.
Yeah, the last time it was that they've got Lungi and Gidi in. That's when they rested Bravo. That's about one change. We were expecting that Ruturaj Gaikwad would finally give way to maybe Robin Uthappa. That didn't happen. They kept faith. It was a justified decision. And ironically, Joy, the first thing that Ruturaj Gaikwad said, a lot of people in the franchise spoke to me and kept me in good spirits, led by Robin Uthappa.
No, that's Robin is a wonderful cricketer and a wonderful guy. He's been on Cricbuzz as well, but I've known him for many years, and he is one of the guys. He's a completely selfless cricketer. Great to have him in the dressing room. Even now, when you see him outside, wearing the bibs and rushing out, his attitude is so positive. And coming back to Simon's point, what he talked about, saying that Ngidi staying instead of Bravo. I think Ngidi probably will stay here, because if you look at the Bangalore batting, it's a front-loaded batting. Okay, unlike KKR or all these, it's a front-loaded batting. So it's there. It's Virat, Devdutt, AB, all these guys in one cluster. Glenn Maxwell, they're all there in one cluster. If you need to take wicket up front, he's the guy. Bravo is never going to bowl you in the first 6, 8, 10 overs. If they're going to say, do we have wicket-taking bowlers? Deepak Chahar is a wicket-taking bowler, definitely, especially if the ball swings a little bit. Whatever little bit, he'll get something in the first couple of overs. Ngidi is a wicket-taking bowler, and I think Dhoni would never miss a trick and say that, I'm going to wait for the back and try and contain. Containment is not an option, not with this pitch, not with Bangalore's batting.
Yeah, when we think of containment, and we think of containment zones in a very different context. But Mumbai, they'll want to turn that stadium into one, will the Chennai bowlers. But what about the opposition? They've been dominant. They've been invincible. Now, the question is, when they have that first hurdle, I mean, that they're going to have a bad day. And probably they want to have it early in the tournament, not too late in the tournament. But again, in terms of personnel, Simon?
The only thing I can see from a Bangalore point of view, and I wonder whether they're a little bit worried about Yuzvendra Chahal. He hasn't been at his best, hasn't been picking wickets for them, has been a little bit expensive. Now, the only way I can see a change there is Navdeep Saini in, Kane Richardson out, Adam Zampa in, Yuzvendra Chahal out. So that's the only way. Now, whether they make that change, I don't know. I think they'll probably keep faith, and Chahal is an Indian player, he's an Indian international, but he hasn't been at his best. So I wonder whether there is an opportunity, now that they're 4 from 4, to give Saini a chance and maybe bring Zampa in to see whether he can do something a little bit more or not. Whether they make that, I don't know, but that would be the option if they were looking at something along those lines.
Yeah, in fact, I fully agree with you. Zampa has to be given a chance, because given their schedule, Zampa is going to be a vital bowler. See, all leg spinners are going to be vital at some point in time in this tournament, because as the pitches get older and slower and older and slower, so expect Imran Tahir to come in as well. But what's going to happen out here is you need to give Zampa a run in at some point in time. They might also do, if you think about it, they could do a straight Richardson for Zampa swap as well, and say, we'll play the extra spinner. Of course, it's not the surface on which you play that many spinners as well. I mean, that's a fair point taken. But I somehow, because of Virat Kohli's relationship, and for Virat, you're right. Chahal is almost like a talisman. Somebody who he regards on the field. Again, that relationship of he goes to Chahal a lot, because Chahal knows a lot of the domestic cricket, knows the fielders, knows the positions. So I can't see him leaving Chahal out very easily. That's the only reason. But otherwise, I would love to see Zampa given a run as early as possible.